guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. As per usual, I have my wicked candle in here, making the whole room smell like caramel apple. And we are officially in spooky season, so I probably will find another one of these cool candles to always tell you guys about, but so far I haven't, so we shall see. I have a bunch of stories that I want to read on this video, and I'm very excited. So the first one is from the no sleep section. It is from the Reddit author Asphodelthi. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, and it's titled The Forest. The last winter, I saw the old woodcutter. It was desperately cold. Snow fell thick and heavy on the ground, smothering everything in a blanket of icy white. One by one, the trees around town were felled, and one by one, they were burned to stave off the worst of the cold. Eventually, the only trees left belonged to the forest. The forest was a dark and confusing place. We were all warned as children never to wander into its depths. The paths moved, they said, the further in you went. A strange whisper filled the air, not just the rustling of the wind through the golden leaves, but a low voice, though the words were never decipherable. It was understood that the forest was apart in some way, dangerous. The winter, however, as families shivered in their cottages in front of dwindling fires, the woodcutter headed to the forest. He took a sled dragged behind him and the sharpest axe in the woodshop. The townspeople told him not to go, but not with conviction. They were all freezing, after all, and the promise of wood was way too tantalizing. The woodcutter's first foray saw him venture into the utmost edge of the trees. A few of us watched him select a young sapling right on the boundary line between forest and the open field. We waited with bated breath, and he raised his axe and then swung it whistling through the air with all of his strength. We knew the moment the blade touched the bark. The whole town did. Though we were too far away to see properly, I'll never forget the sound that the tree made as steel ate its way through its young flesh. To call it a scream would be underselling it. The high-pitched screech it made carried through the chill air, reverberating through our town and shaking the glass in our windows. We all cried out as one, in alarm and in terror, clapping our hands over our ears in an attempt to drown out the terrible, hideous sound. He returned shortly afterward, the sapling chopped into short logs on a sled. Sap dripped onto the snow in his wake, strangely dark against the white, strangely red. We tried not to think too hard about it as the woodcutter allocated us each a log to burn. As we all gathered around our hearths that night, the memory of the scream faded to be replaced only with the warmth and comfort of the fire. The woodcutter ventured back into the forest the next day. The sapling had lasted the night, and the town needed more wood to burn. It was the middle of December, with spring nowhere in sight. The town gathered at its door as he prepared to depart, some offering mumbled thanks and words of encouragement. Others, like my family, begged him not to go back. He listened to us all, but departed anyway. The town was freezing, he explained. He had no choice. The tree he selected this time was slightly deeper in, and thicker and taller. This time, nobody watched him work, but we all knew once again when his axe had done the job. The scream. He returned later that afternoon, his sled piled even higher with wood than the day before. Again, he left spatters of sap behind him as he dragged the tree through town. Children kicked the fresh snow over the bright red droplets, and families queued their claim of their allocation of logs. The trees lasted 2 nights, and then the woodcutter returned to the forest. I watched from my cottage front window as he vanished into the darkness, dragging his empty sled behind him. We waited for the trees to scream, but nothing happened. The morning passed, and the sun dipped lower in the sky, and still, there was no sound from the forest, no indication that the woodcutter had felled a tree. We gathered at the edge of town, wrapped up tight against the cold, and stared out into the forest waiting. Eventually, the sun set and the moon began to rise in the sky. 1,000 distant stars twinkled above us, and more snow began to fall, gently at first, and then more thickly, driving us back into our homes. We wondered what the silence meant, and why the woodcutter had not yet returned. My father offered that perhaps he had delved deeper into the forest in search of a bigger tree that would last us through the winter, not just a few days. Dark looks were exchanged as the thought of that. We all knew how the forest paths shifted and changed the deeper you went. If the woodcutter had tried to plumb the very depths of the forest, I did not dare think about it. We retired to our beds that night full of uncertainty and fear. Fear for the woodcutter and fear for ourselves. Our furniture had long since been burned. Even the straw from our mattresses had been sacrificed for just a little more warmth. It was when the moon was at its highest that we heard it. The town was asleep for the most part, but the noise roused us all from our frigid beds. We gathered in the town square, our eyes firmly planted on the dark shapes of the forest as it crouched silhouetted against the night sky. We heard it again as we stood there, clutching each other's trembling fingers and staring wide-eyed into the darkness. A scream rang through the still night, and at first, the town rejoiced to hear it. He must have found a good tree, we all thought, smiling at each other and imagining all the fires we would light. Then as the screaming dragged on, the smiles fell from our faces, one by one. Despair rippled among us as we each became aware of why this scream bothered us so much. This was a scream unlike those we had become accustomed to. This scream was loud, ragged, and deeper than the needle-sharp screeches of the young trees had produced. Twice more we heard it that night, each scream more horrendous, more agonized than the first before. Twice more we flinched and winced as the night was punctuated with screams, with the voice of the woodcutter. We returned sleeplessly to our homes that night, once the silence seemed to have returned for good. The next morning, the woodcutter sled was discovered at the edge of the forest, piled high with what appeared to be logs from a distance. The poor townsfolk who ventured out to examine it returned pale and hollow-eyed, dragging the sled behind them with a sick determination. The sled dripped red as they pulled it through town, and within it dark shapes were stacked, this one wearing a boot, that one a scrap of an overcoat, while from the top protruded an axe. Clutching tightly is the severed hand of the woodcutter. And that's how that story ends. So that's a really just creepy story. I just enjoyed it because it was just really weird and really different. So that one's obviously a fictional no-sleep story, but I thought it was really good and I really liked it. So thank you so much for allowing me to read your story. That was very well written and really fucking creepy. Makes you think. It's like the forest is fighting back, which I kind of like. The next one that I want to read is from the Paranormal Encounters section of Reddit, and it's from the Reddit author OK-requirement-8767, and it's titled, I Think I Met Myself. I saw someone who looks exactly like me, and she was even wearing my lost earrings. I was sober at the time because I was driving, and I was hydrated, so the possibility of it being a hallucination is ruled out. I was at the mall a little over a month ago, and I went to this one store because it was having a huge sale. My mom likes that store, so we went in. It wasn't too crowded at the time, but there was a decent amount of people there. On our way to the checkout, my mom got in line and told me to see if there was anything remaining that I wanted. So after surveying all of the items, I grabbed 2 candles and I turned around and I'm almost face to face with someone who looks exactly like me, but younger. When I was younger, I'm talking like maybe 13, 14, and I'm a senior now, so that's not too long ago. I had curly hair with blonde highlights, and I used to dress a lot differently. She had the exact same hair I had before I dyed it, and the same curl pattern that I have. 3 piercings on each ear, like I have, and the same pair of distressed jeans I wore religiously. What really made me freak out was the earrings. I lost a pair of earrings that my mom gave me that had my birthstone on it, and she was wearing them. She was wearing my same earrings. I thought I would never see them again, but right in front of my very eyes, they were on someone who looked exactly like me. I don't even remember the rest of the day. I was pinching myself on the way out. I've been thinking about this all summer. I have a photogenic memory, so I remember seeing the exact same birthmarks I have on my face, exactly on hers. I heard it's not a great idea to make eye contact with a presumed doppelganger, so I just noped the fuck out of there. I'm not sure if I actually met a doppelganger or if it was just possibly a younger version of myself. All I know is that I have this gut-wrenching feeling that I'm probably gonna see her again. Does anyone know what this means? Thanks for reading. So that was just in the Paranormal Encounters post. So that could have been a doppelganger, but it's very interesting that they looked younger. So I have no idea. If you guys have any idea, let us know in the comments down below. I just wanted to include that one because it was really weird and kind of creepy, and I've never actually ran into a doppelganger myself, but I had countless people message me when I'm at work and be like, hey, did I just see you at Walmart? Or hey, why aren't you at work? I just saw you driving. And it was back when I had my purple Sebring, and people would see me driving my exact same car while I was at work. And I would text them back. I'd be like, no, I'm literally at my office. What are you talking about? I haven't gone anywhere. I've been here since 8 a.m. And they'd be like, that's really weird. I just saw you driving your exact car. So I don't know. Sometimes people just see things that look exactly like other people, but I don't fucking know, and it's really creepy. I don't know what I would do if I ever personally saw my own doppelganger, because that's a little too creepy for me. That just kind of reminds me of like Vampire Diaries. If I ever saw someone that looked exactly like me and she was like Catherine and she was a bitch, I'd be pissed. Paranormal encounter section again, and it's from the Reddit author Perplexing Camel, and it's titled Shower Prank. So I actually had somebody message me this on Instagram, and then I reached out to the author and the author approved it. So thank you so much for sending this to me. It's really fucking creepy. Let's jump into it. I'm a strong believer that if you acknowledge something, it gets stronger. This happened to me months ago, and I just want to put it out into the world in hopes that it takes away the temptation to bring this up to my fiance all the time. One evening after work, I went to take a shower. I will admit that I had not slept the night before, so I was incredibly tired. I had my music as loud as it would go on my phone so I could hear it over the rushing water. About midway through, the music volume lowered to silent. I turned around to open the curtain and find out what was going on when I heard my fiance pull back the shower curtain a little bit. He stuck his head in the shower and grinned at me. I looked at him with confusion, and he popped his head back out before turning the light off and closing the bathroom door. To say I was furious is an understatement. I really don't like practical pranks like that. Call me lame if you want, and one involving wet and slippery darkness just hit me hard with how tired I was. I immediately stepped out of the shower, flipped the light back on, which is right between the shower and the door, so there's only a foot between the two as they share a wall, and I stormed out of the bathroom without even getting a towel. I found my fiance sitting at his computer with his headset on, and I absolutely laid into him. He had this confused and panicked expression as I asked why the hell he would think it would be funny, telling him to never do it again. He asked me to explain what he did wrong, which made me angrier. But when he said he had been playing since before I went into the shower, I started to believe him. To begin with, he hates pranks even more than I do. We've been together for 6 years, and he's never so much as jumped out from a corner to startle me, and I've never seen him mess with anyone. He's not the type of person that would even think to do something like that. But I was so tired that none of that sank in before I got mad at him. Along with simply not being the type, the setup at the apartment would have made it impossible for him to get back to the office without me hearing him. Between the bathroom and the office, there was a noisy metal baby gate, the living room, the kitchen, and another noisy metal baby gate in the office doorway. I would have also heard his footsteps on the wooden floor if he were moving as quickly as he would have needed to. I've thought about it over and over. It's the creepiest thing that's ever happened to me, and I wanted to write it off as me just being sleep deprived, but I had to turn my music back on. I had to flip the light switch back on. I had to open the bathroom door to get out. We leave it open when we shower because it's just the two of us, and the bathroom has really poor ventilation. I made him check the apartment for anyone else, even though I know what he looks like, and that face was his. I asked him to stay in the bathroom with me until I washed the conditioner out of my hair. I think about this every time I shower. We've had some random things happen before this, like stuff moving from places we know we didn't put, sounds we would rationalize forever, the motion sensors triggering on the cameras over nothing, but nothing, nowhere, near this level before then. I don't know what I'm looking for here other than a moment of wiring out my brain, but if anyone has anything similar happen, please let me know. So if you guys have anything happen like that in your experience, let us know in the comments down below, because that's another just a paranormal encounter and it's really creepy. That one just kind of sat with me kind of funny because I was like, that's really fucking weird. That like your boyfriend would come into the bathroom, pop his head into the shower, smile at you creepily, and then turn off your music, turn the light off and just leave. So obviously it wasn't just like you being sleep deprived because your music literally shut off, the bathroom door closed, and the light turned off. So something is in your house. That's really freaking creepy. I don't like that at all. And I don't know, that's just a really, really, really weird story. So thank you so much for allowing me to read that story. That was really fucking creepy. And I have one more that I'm gonna read. This one is from the paranormal section. It's from the Reddit author Sunflower480. So this one's titled Hospital Haunt, ? I'm a nurse and I work in an older hospital, about 50 years old. This occurred in the emergency department around 6:30 p.m. During shift change, my coworker and I were talking to each other and walking to the break room to gather our things. There's this petite nurse or healthcare worker in scrubs walking in front of us that we are closely following in the hall to the break room. We didn't recognize her as our regular unit staff. We never saw her face as she never turned around or spoke to anyone that we passed in the halls. Well, she opens the door and enters the room, and the door is slowly closing. We were like 5 steps behind her, and I rushed to the door to keep it from shutting. That's how close in distance we were. I then opened the door, prepared to greet this person, but there was no one there. The break room does not have any other rooms, exits, or even a bathroom. My coworker and I stood there dumbfounded because we both knew we saw the same lady enter the room right before us. Our description of her appearance was the exact same, and we even asked others if they had seen anyone matching her description. No one had seen anyone who looked like that on the unit at all. We even had a coworker tell us that they had just seen us walking to the break room together, but there was not a third person near us. By far the most bizarre and creepiest shit I've encountered in my life, and I have no explanation for it. So that's their entire post, but they just were literally walking behind like an apparition. And they both saw the exact same thing, the exact same girl, exact same clothing, person, everything. And they both had the encounter. So they can't even just write it off as like seeing things because they both saw it. So that's really weird. I really, really liked that one. That's really fucking creepy. I love just encounters. You guys' just random paranormal encounters are really fun and really creepy, and I have goosebumps. So this is where I'm going to end the video because I need to edit this, post this, and then I need to go make dinner because I am hungry. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys did make it to the end of the video, please leave me your favorite fall emoji because we are officially in fall. If you guys have any paranormal stories, any scary stories, any just creepy stories in general that you want to share with me, feel free to reach out over my Instagram, or you guys can send me an email and I will definitely read them as long as they are appropriate for the channel. If you've sent me emails or messages in the past and I haven't gotten to your stories, just send me another message and I will try to boost them up in my messages or my emails. And then if there's something wrong with it, we can go over it and see if we can fix it so it's a little bit easier for me to read, because it could just be something happened on Instagram that I can't read it. So just send me another message and I will definitely read your story if it's appropriate. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.